Hi peeps, welcome to just about the midway point of our journey with Ma Kali this week. I thought I would have a cup of tea with you guys and just share a little bit, some ruminations and thoughts that I have been having, and also personal experience with Kali this week for myself, but personal experience with Kali in general as well. So it's been interesting in my personal daily draws and in my card work, connecting with Kali this time around. There's been a really big message of protection from her, that she is protecting me on my path from negative energies and assisting me to shift my perspective so that I can step into a time of expansion and growth. And you know, sometimes when we're in the middle of making changes on our path, sometimes certain people just can't come along with us for that shift and that change. And sometimes when you do change, people cannot not only not be able to come along with you, but they can have a visceral reaction to want to hold you down or keep you in place, right? And so for me personally, very much this week, it's been that Kali has given me the freedom from a space of ferocious grace to really release older connections that have outgrown their time, and to really be able to offer myself energetic presence and clearing and kindness over this week. Like, there's been a real call to be empathetic towards myself and to also clear energetically things that need to be released, whether that's people or experiences. Again, that's different for each and every one of us. But for me at this time, there's been some older connections that it's been important for me to say goodbye to. And I really feel Kali's protection in that. And also her protection in, even after we disconnect from someone physically, they can still affect us in the ether, in the energetic world. And especially if the connection has been deep or intense or powerful, there can still be those energetic connections that continue even after we stop maybe physically seeing those individuals or physically allowing them into our space. So there's been a lot of protective magic and energetic work from a protection standpoint that I feel like Kali has really been calling me to do this week and assisting me in doing. And, you know, I can be just like anyone else and be like, I don't know, like, is energetic stuff even, like, is it, are cords of attachment even real? And, you know, am I still holding on to that piece from so long ago? And so this has been a really affirming week for me of, yeah, this is real. This is real to you. This is your truth. This is your path. Why don't you really embrace working in alignment with that and being proactive in this work instead of constantly doubting yourself? And so I've really felt like Kali has been assisting me with that in my draws and in my journaling and my work with her as I move through this week with you all. And there's also been a real sense of permission to shift my perspective on things that have happened in my life, and really stepping into a state of profound grace and compassion and understanding, and that I don't have to hold the sting of certain pains and experiences, but now I can shift into extracting the wisdom and the gratitude of that I am who I am now because of those experiences. So there's been this really beautiful perspective shift that I've been sitting with, in that I feel like Kali has really called me to start exploring in my personal journey, my personal work, the work that, you know, I do as Racine, right? And that only ever positively affects the work that I do as a priestess. And part of this week has also really been about reclaiming the wildness of the sacred feminine. you know, sometimes we can feel, I think, this pressure to make our work with deity or work with the goddess make sense to others. Like if we were to be having a conversation with someone else, that we could make it make sense, that we could put it in a very linear timeline and in a way that's like, you know, again, in a way that makes sense. And I've really felt this call as a priestess in the space stepping up into this week, but especially affirmed through this week of, oh, no, 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 no. No, we're not going to make this make sense for anyone anymore. This isn't about making things acceptable. And I don't mean that from a standpoint of doing anything that's not in alignment with highest good. I mean acceptable from a societal standpoint, or acceptable from a community standpoint, or from a peer standpoint, or I don't know. And however you personally feel judged, you could apply this to. But, you know, for me, it's been about where is my wildness that's intrinsically aligned with Ma Kali and the sacred feminine going to take me now? And am I gonna let a perceived sense of safety keep me from taking the step and the jump into the depths of wildness and fire? And I'm really excited for that. I'm really excited to no longer be allowing that to define me, making things seem normal or okay, or that I can explain to someone in layman's terms what I do. It's so wonderful to release another layer of, I guess, trying to make it make sense for people that I was unconsciously still engaging in. So that's been like really exciting. And the funny thing is, again, like Kali is a goddess of destruction. And I know for so many of us, like she does come through in those tower moments. But what I've really found her to be is my biggest cheerleader. And that the love is deep enough and true enough that she's also going to cut away what no longer serves. That her love is true enough that she isn't going to lie to me to make me feel better. And when I first encountered Kali on my path, and I've said this in previous videos as well, she was one of the first goddesses that came through to me. I mean, Kali is not afraid to be loud and brash and bold. And I think it's why she often is able to get through even when we maybe aren't fine-tuned enough to hear more quieter goddesses. Or more quiet goddesses, excuse me. But Kali came through. She first came through in the Boys for Pele CD by album, excuse me. It was a CD back in my day by Tori Amos. And I first listened to that when I was 17, 18, and I had a Walkman, and I would play that with my headphones in the car, and my dad would have no idea that I was listening to this goddess Pele and the goddess Kali and the energy of Lucifer, and connecting with that as a means to discover the fire within. Like my dad had no idea. I remember like listening with my headphones on, like my mind being blown, and I was starting to open up to, you know, I had been communicating with these entities, these guides, these whatevers for my whole life, right? And I was starting to be able to see an inkling to opening up to what that was really going to look like for me. And it was a very subversive, like blow your world up type of energy that was coming through in that music, because for me to embrace Pele and Kali and the path of creative freedom and personal freedom that Tori was talking about in that album, I was going to have to lose my entire family, my entire community, and change my entire life. So the seeds started then. So Kali really started then in my ears, in my headphones, with my little Walkman, with a secret album I had gone to the store and bought when my parents weren't with me, and I had to hide and I had to throw out the case so that they didn't see it. So they wouldn't read the lyrics, like that kind of thing, right? And then in my very early 20s, she came through full bore as herself. And she picked me up off the floor and she told me that it was time. And she did not let me argue with her at that point. she became like a part of me. I could feel her burning, and that I needed to burn my world down. And as I have said often, Kali doesn't necessarily consciously walk with me every day the same way that Isis does, but Kali comes through when I need her. And I can always talk to Kali at any point in time on my path. And oh my God, I'm like getting so emotional about this. I love my goddesses so much, and they've just picked me up and walked me through times where there wasn't a space that another human could understand, but they could. And Kali's very much that energy. But Kali has really come through at times of major change in my life, but she's also come through at times of major depression, major fear, deep loss. And now she's coming through in this way of, how can I better energetically protect and take care of myself as a witch, as a priestess, as a channel whose entire life is devoted to the work of the sacred feminine and the goddess. And so it's, I feel such a sense of reverence and love for Kali Ma, and that her work is so important. It's so necessary for so many of us at this time. So if you are feeling called to work with her, if you felt called to participate in the card work this week, in the connection with her, please know that her ferocity is her love. And that while you may have to change things when she works with you, she's not a goddess that's status quo. She is not a goddess that accepts what is. You know, she's a goddess that says, no, this needs to change, and this is going to change now. And you're going to do it, and I'm going to walk with you. She's very much that energy. But if she's with you at this time, and if you feel called to her at this time, you're ready for whatever changes she's bringing. And sometimes those changes, like as I was just speaking about in my own path, can be those really tower moments where you have to walk away from something, or burn something to the ground, or let something end, or say no to something that you have a lot of attachment to handling or doing a certain way. But she's also, the change that she affects is also at a cellular level, at a very, very internal level in regards to our self-talk and how we view ourselves and how we speak about ourselves to ourselves and also with others, what we believe about ourselves. She's here to help change that. And so hopefully in your card work this week, you've also found that that's a part of the evolution and the rebirth that she's here to help you embrace and to step into in your life. Because if you're not changing at that cellular level, the ways in which you stay small and the things that keep you subjugated, you're going to just repeat it in a different way. So Kali helps you get right down to the root. It's like if you have a broken bone or a fracture, Kali's going to set the bone for you. And no, it doesn't feel good in the moment, but do you want that bone to heal whole again? Right? And do you want to not be defined by something anymore? Because if you want to not be defined by a story from your past, then you have to do the work to release what's stuck in the cellular memory around it. And that is so much the goddess that she is to me. She's a very, 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 just, I want to use the word powerful, but it doesn't encompass everything that she is. And yet at the same time, she's so loving. And I see that more and more the older I get. And it does make me emotional. It does make me want to cry, because her love is what causes her to do that. No different than a mother who knows she has to set a rule or a boundary in the house for her child because it ultimately serves them. Even if in the moment it's not the most fun thing, right? Like an example of this for me is like device time for my son. As much as he wants to play his game with his friends for as long as he wants to, he actually needs a time limit on his device time, because he needs to also be able to be a person and be present to his experience and process where he's at, right? And it's my love for him as a mother that causes me to set a timeline on his device time, even though in the moment it might feel like I'm not being the cool mom, right? And that to me is Kali. Kali's like, well, I'm sorry, but you have to end this chapter in your life. And because I love you, I'm going to help you do it, but I'm also going to tell you and I'm going to show you, and I'm not going to allow you to keep banging your head against the wall and expecting something different to happen. And so that's very much Kali's energy for me. And I experience it more. I think I'm able to let it in more the older I get. And I'm just profoundly grateful for Kali Ma. She's a huge part of my spiritual path, and she's a huge part of the sacred feminine that I feel I represent in my journey. So I figured, since we're halfway through, and I know some of you had reached out and said, would I please do this video? I was intending to do this video, but some of you had asked if I would please, reach out and say, could you please share where you're at and just some thoughts as we move through the week? Because I know for some of you, it's been an intense week. Again, Kali does not stay at the surface. So I thought I would draw a blessing card for us from the pocket edition of the Kali Oracle. This is a blessing for Kali for you, for wherever you are right now as you're moving through this week with her. Anahata Kali, your heart cannot be contained or constrained by what has taken place in your life. Your heart wisdom and empowerment is growing, and soon you shall have the wisdom and courage to accomplish something significant to your soul journey. Trust in the invisible workings of divine love in your life. Let your heart be at peace as it guides you onward. What a beautiful blessing from our goddess this week. I hope you are doing well out there in the world. I am sending you, as always, so much love and many blessings. I'll see you in the next video.